Welcome aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. All kinds of technical difficulties recording this morning, but we are here live and in the flesh. I am recording from the Resorts World Hotel and Casino in sunny, sweltering Las Vegas. And Mr. Kurt, looks like you are at home.
I am at home, and I think tonight will be the last night that I am at home for the next 11 nights. So, should be, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, got a lot going on, man. All good stuff.
Wow. Okay, so that means you're going straight from New York to Orlando?
That is correct. Yes, flying. Was hoping for that wide-body United action, and I'm not referring to ex-girlfriend of mine. I'm referring to United supposed to be flying 767s or 777s from Newark to Orlando at least once a day, but it's all 737s, so it'll be narrow body all the way. But it's also only $99, so.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing a very, very steady diet of 737s on a lot of routes right now. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about a tweet of yours that I flagged. So Apologies for the beautiful light today. I've got the sun shining in the window, so instead of having a big line down the middle of my face, we're going with this avant-garde look of, if you're watching on video, you get half of my face in the sun, half not. So
don't use big words, man. Don't use big words for me. Come on now.
All right, I'll try not to. All right, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to get a hold of us, you can text us at 571-293-6659. And you can shoot me an email at ed@pizzainmotion.com. He is at Kerpoints on all of those social media channels. I am at Pizza in Motion. And you can find the show, Miles to Go Podcast, on TikTok and Instagram. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the sprint. So does that mean that your wife is meeting you in Orlando with the kiddos?
Yeah. We're going to have Return to Frontier Tales on next week's episode as they are flying for $39 from Atlanta to MCO, and I'll be flying from New York City, a place I've never been before, all the way down to Orlando on United Airlines. And on the heavy leisure route, man, that first class is wide open here. It looks like at time of recording, 6 days before departure. So hope I'm up front for that little 2-hour.
It'll never happen.
Yeah, okay. Maybe not, but man,
Have you looked for the price of the upgrade yet? Because I'm sure it's dirt cheap. That's the problem.
No, I haven't. Because I don't care what it is. I'm not going to pay it. I'm just always so exhausted after 4 straight 12-hour work days and dinners and stuff in New York that 2-hour nap a week from now, I'm already thinking about the 2-hour nap on the flight down. Would be great.
Yeah, usually on Newark and Dulles to Orlando, the upgrade prices are very minimal. Like I got, when we were down for, what did we go down for? I don't know, maybe my son's birthday or something. And on the flight back, the ticket price was, $100 something in coach, and it was an extra like $60 or $70 for first. It's like, well, like that's easy math. So those upgrades are cheap, so I would not expect it on this flight. But I am curious. I should know this. Will Emily have status on her Frontier flight, or is it only when she travels with you, King Kerr?
Trying to think of how to answer this. I will have a ticket on that plane, and I will be a part of the PNR in case I happen to come home early from New York. I just want to make sure I have a seat there, and we'll all meet together in Orlando.
Got it. All right. Well, have you booked a hotel for Orlando yet, or are you still waiting on that?
I just repriced it again through all the Marriott shenanigans. We got 3 nights at the Swan Reserve on points. It's down to 130,000 points total for 3 nights, whereas that wouldn't have even gotten you 2 nights 4 months ago. Was supposed to be the 5th night free. Had to narrow that window down because of some plans in June, and that led me to a little adventure. We want to get into it now. The Marriott adventure I'm still trying to fix here. I've been working on it for about an hour this morning between meetings. But basically, man, I did the modification. I had what are they called now? They're not Sweet Night Awards anymore. They're
we're gonna call them. We're gonna call
them S&A, Sweet Night Awards. 1 certificate per night. I had 5 from being a Platinum Elite. Applied them to the reservation for 5th night free. They clear, I think, starting 72 hours out now. So it's like throw it out there, and if it's, don't count on it happening. But there's a lot of suites at the Swan Reserve. When I modified the reservation down to 3 nights, I first tried to call and do it online to make sure that the Sweet Night Awards would transfer over, but they kept quoting me way more points per night than I was seeing online. So she was like, just book it online and it should be fine. Well, it wasn't fine. Sweet Night Awards disappeared on the new reservation. They weren't in my account, and I waited for a day for them to show back up. They didn't. I called this morning, got on the phone, and 45-minute phone call later, still not fixed, even though they say they're back in my account. So here's what I learned: is either book your reservation before modifying online, or just expect to kind of go through the effort that I'm going through now to try and get these reapplied, because in just another few days we'll be within that 72-hour window. I think I'm saying that right now, man. With the new rules, I think it got cut down from 5 days to 3 days.
5 days to 72, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not suites anymore. It can be like you just got to pick which rooms you want. But again, lots of suites at Swan Reserve, and it still looks to be some availability. So fingers crossed it happens. It would be nice. But again, if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen, and we'll be fine in a regular 2-queen room, because we're not going to be in the room very much. So that's kind of the plans for Orlando after New York and after a little camping action this weekend.
Whoa. Dude, triggering event for me.
I'll tell you what, I love looking at you here on the computer and being online once again, but I have been just connected to Zoom and computers, and I've had 10, 11-hour work days at home the last couple of weeks with everything we have going on in the day job, and I just need to go unplug for a weekend, man, before what I know lies ahead of me in a long week in New York next week.
Yeah, no, I hear you. We just have different versions of unplugging. Let's just say
if you're not watching on the camera, Ed viscerally reacted with a like shudder when I said the word camping, and he was like, I'm in resort. I will stay in Vegas or my fancy house in Virginia. I don't know, wherever he is, he's not going to be in the woods.
Hey, let's keep in mind that fancy house in Virginia does have a hookup for your trailer. Okay, so not a full hookup, just power.
It does have. I do need to wander on up there again. That would be cool.
Well, if you don't want an RV, we've got an offer from our sponsor, which is much more appealing to probably 99.9% of the audience tuned into the show. Big thanks to Thrifty Traveler for being a sponsor of the show. Thrifty Traveler Premium with the code GO10 get you $10 off the first year. And this was a spicy week of offers, man. First off, you don't often see, good mileage offers from the West Coast, and you certainly don't see a ton of them from Las Vegas. So I thought Las Vegas to Europe in business class, 55,000 miles each way, was pretty solid. JetBlue Mint suites under 78,000 points each way was decent. But I think, like, for me, thinking back to last year with the Faroe Islands, there were Faroe Island sales as well. And also we're starting to see something that I haven't seen in a number of years. But remember back in the day when, like, Alaska would always go on sale in, like, late summer, early fall. And if you need a mileage run, like, Anchorage was a place to go. So it seems like there's more capacity to Anchorage, and I'm signaling on that based on this tweet that I flagged of yours. But I'm seeing, flights for under $400 round trip to Alaska for peak summer days. And Alaska is a great place to visit. And I'd argue summer is a much better time than the winter for certain sorts of activities. But I wonder if this is just an example of the airlines now have too much capacity on this market, because on the flip side, and we'll talk about your tweet in a second, there are some prices up there that are shockingly high. So anyway you go, I think I'm surprised that we're at the end of May and we're seeing as many good deals as we are. But I think Thrifty Traveler is an easy way to get that value out of your miles and points. I don't like your eyeballs this morning, man. You're looking a little weird at me.
I am. Man, it's been a week. Nope, I would agree. Look, if you're not on Thrifty Traveler Premium, I don't even know what you're doing at this point, because everybody, like,
what you're doing. You're spending too much.
Yeah, what's the number one DM you get? Hey, I want to fly here. I got these miles. How do I do it? I'm like, you're doing it the wrong way. Let the availability decide where you go. Sign up for the service, and when something cool pops up, book it, and you're done. Bob's your uncle. As far as Alaska goes, man, yeah, Alaska's so hot right now, pun intended. A lot of people taking trips up there. I actually had the opportunity to book the Brooks Lodge. Got on the lottery for that. That's the place where you got to take the really obscure Alaska 737 from Anchorage down the Aleutian Island chain. And that's the place where the bears, you can see the famous picture. Everybody's seen the famous picture of the bears over the waterfall swiping the salmon. That's at the Brooks Lodge, where the bears just roam around you. It's really, really expensive, but it looks like a solid bucket list item. So that was the first time I started looking into an Alaska trip for this summer. After I cleared the wait list and looked, do I want to spend this kind of money to have that kind of experience? And that led me to just, running across a random tweet about the new route that United is flying.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this. I probably heard about it and then promptly forgot about it. But they're flying nonstop Dulles to Anchorage, and this is part of the steady diet of 737s that we're seeing. They're running it on a max 8.
That is 7.5 hours, and let's just pull up gcmap.com to see the kind of mileage we're talking about.
I think it's like 3,500 miles. Yeah.
Oh man, 7.5 hours on a 737 max. from Dulles to Anchorage, dude, it's just not going to happen for me. I mean, you're like, you kept talking yourself into it last night as we texted about it, and I was
I'm definitely flying this, just not in first class. Yeah,
no, but it doesn't look to be selling too well. Maybe perhaps not shockingly. It looked a week out on early June departure, and almost every single extra legroom seat was still available in economy. Plenty of first class seats. You could get an award ticket in economy for 20,000 miles, which I would argue nonstop from Dulles to Alaska for 20,000 miles. Hey, if you just want to get there and you don't care, that's a great deal. On the other hand, first class was 100,000 miles and rather pricey on the dollar amount. And dude, I'm not getting on the back of a 737 of anybody's airline for 7.5 hours. So maybe if somebody puts me up front, it'd be a cool experience to take on. But yeah, man, that's not for me. I don't like. Can you imagine the people who are not, probably, I would say the majority of people on that plane, they're like a 7.5 hour flight. Okay. They don't look at the plane type. They don't know. They get to the gate and they see this little plane and they're like, well, where's our plane? And they're like, that is your plane for the next 7. And they get on board and they're like, wait a minute here. Like just these other reactions of like sitting down and just hope, like, you better have a good seatmate. You better have the seat that you wanted. Like, I don't know, man. That's like,
and you better bring a snack, because I can guarantee you they're not going to cater enough food in coach to.
Well, that was my next question. Is right. You're getting a meal on that flight, right? Like, they're not.
Oh, I doubt it.
7.5 hours
what?
Or not.
You really think that you're getting a meal on a domestic flight on United?
Does United serve a meal? They don't, right? From Newark to Honolulu, there is no meal in economy, right? Is that right? I thought there was.
I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. Yeah,
dude, like 7.5 hours and you're not getting a meal. Like, that is. I know if you're in first class, you're still not getting United lounge access because that's a domestic flight. So that also stinks.
Yeah, you're also not getting good catering, but that's a completely separate discussion. The one thing I will say about this flight, you're not wrong about coach availability in general, but there's a number of days in June and July where the first class cabin is almost sold out, and that's a little surprising to me. Now, this is always, well, not always, but maybe not always, but all the dates I pulled up so far are a max 8. And so that's 16 seats in first class. So it's not a 5-row cabin, if you will, but still, I mean, I'm seeing plenty of days where there's a few days where it's completely sold out, and then a number of days where there's only 1 or 2 seats left, which is, I think, 2 things. One, that's certainly driving the price on those specific days, and then I'm guessing that United's algorithm just believes that because some days are almost sold out in first class, that they're just going to sell out most of these days. And so, to your point, they're pricing the mileage disgustingly high, and the cash fares are, call it $1,000 one way in first class. So you're getting, a penny a point essentially to redeem, which is horrible.
Dude, it's the last, we talked about this, the last MAX 8 I flew did not have in-flight entertainment. So that's 7.5 hours looking at a magazine holder in front of you. And do the regular economy seats even have power outlets? Surely on the Max they do, right? The old ones, they don't. You got to have Comfort Plus in order to, or not Comfort Plus. I get all the airline names.
Economy Plus. Yeah, I don't think power goes all the way back on the Max 8s. I think it's just in
7.5 hours with no in-flight entertainment and no power.
Bring your Anchor battery, folks.
Dude, like those are the kind of flights where I feel like there's the opportunity for like you all sit down and look at the people next to you and you're like, well, we're going to be friends for the next 7.5 hours. So like, where you actually go back to the old days. Cards. Yeah, like bring out the Uno cards, like somebody's the house and start dealing blackjack. Like, so, we're going to have to do something here because I'm not pretending like you're not there for the next 7.5 hours. So, and then that's where I get called a weirdo. And it's like, this guy tried to talk to me.
You are a weirdo. For sure.
No, I'll be fair. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you want, Ed is a line chaser. He chases lines like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He's just nonstop in there, and I made that reference from him so that Ed was old enough to get it. But I'm not a line chaser, man. I much more enjoy nice travel now. But if you want to go chase that line with Ed, please send him a message so that you guys can book that, and then I can live vicariously through the pain of the Wi-Fi not working. So when he lands, he can tell me all about it.
I get a lot. Yeah, and that's a solid day of movie watching on that flight when the Wi-Fi doesn't work. That's for sure. So.
Does Wi-Fi coverage even go all the way up to the top of Canada on a Max? Like the international carrier? Does it?
Yeah, probably because it's North America and it's terrestrial, so probably. But I don't know. It's a good question. The cheapest first class flight I found so far one way was $800, and that's through the end of summer. So I'm not seeing what I would consider to be low prices, and even at the $800 number, it's still 100,000 miles. So yeah, this route apparently is more popular than I was expecting it to be. When you told me about it, I thought for sure that there would be some available, deals, but I haven't found them yet.
I think a summer trip to Alaska is probably pretty expensive. So if you're in that income band of people who are looking to do that trip and you're on the East Coast, probably forking out for first class tickets isn't that big of a deal to you. So I could also see that making a lot of sense why first class is full and economy's not.
Yeah, but I'm out into October now, which I think you and I would both agree is definitely not summer. And on the nonstop route, there's always a premium, so it's pretty nuts though. In October, I'm not seeing it, so I'm wondering if maybe this is just summer seasonal. Oh, there we go. Thank you, United. I have now reached the point where I've been rate limited and I can no longer search for flights anymore.
And that's a legacy.
We talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago, but they still have some ridiculous level for rate limiting. And so if you search too many times, and this time I didn't even change city pairs. I just kept checking different dates. And now I get the, we're sorry, but United.com was unable to complete your request, which means I will be unable to search for flights on United most of today. Thanks, United.
Even in incognito browser, VPN, play all those games. Yeah, gotta play all.
But I will.
Play all the games
United,
if you want to buy a United flight.
United begins with you. All right, let's talk a little bit about Vasu, man. For folks that are listening in, they're like, "What's a Vasu?" This is not a new airline. This is not a new hotel chain.
It's a who?
It's not even a new credit card. Vasu Raja was a very influential person at American Airlines, and Robert Isom, the CEO of American, threw him overboard in a hurry this past week, and in most unceremonious way possible. Not even leaving to spend more time with his family or anything like that. He's just gone. And what's shocking to me is that after they let him go, they restated their earnings because they also need to update that a top executive has left. And they're now charting for, instead of a 1% to 3% drop in revenue in quarter two, which they just reported forecast on 5 or 6 weeks ago. Now they're forecasting down 5 or 6% going into the summer season. And man, I just this one baffles me that they just didn't see coming the fact that, oh my gosh, we should probably cater to some business clients and see if we can, make some revenue there instead of just focusing on leisure travel. This one's just a puzzling one for me.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into, unfortunately, I can't share it all, my day job that's puzzled us in the day job about American for quite a few months now. And then the wider industry as a whole. For people who are not familiar with what's been going on at American, I would tell you two things. One is go listen to the Airline Flyer podcast from, I think, beginning of May, where John Ostrower and Brett Snyder go through what NDC is, if you've not heard about the new distribution capability and everything that's been going on at American. It's 30 minutes. It'll bring you up to speed and give you the basics of what you need to know. Second thing is I just read Brett Snyder's column from today, Thursday, May 30th on Cranky Flyer, where he again goes through who is Vasu and what is all of this and why are we at the place that American's at now. To your point, man, what has been the most baffling to me as what I will call an industry novice over the last couple of years is everybody has seen this train coming down the track. Everybody has been on the same page. People who've covered this industry for 30 years, that this is not going to work, that this is just literally angering people. They basically pissed off every travel agent over the last 6 months at American. They put a lot of people into a free spin. They did all kinds of things from the revenue generating side of an airline that pretty much universally everybody said this is a bad idea. But American kept going down the path. And that is what has been the most confusing to me as, again, a novice in the space, is if all of these guys and gals who've been covering this for 30 years say this is a terrible idea, what is it that they know inside the headquarters of Dallas Fort Worth that everybody is getting wrong? And then sure enough, it goes the way that everybody said it would go. Those situations are what puzzle me the most about this. So, the other thing is I made a comment to Julian yesterday in our group chat where I said, it is amazing how hard it is to get these massive organizations to move until something like this happens. And then literally within 24 hours, the CEO comes out and says, all that stuff that we were going to do that was upsetting you, we're not doing that. That's over. That's off the table. We're doing this. Like within
It's
a
gone.
day, it's gone.
Not even delayed. It's gone.
So it's like all the other times people are asking you to move and you're saying, we're going to need months and time and decisions and committees. And it's like, nope. And in one day, it's actually gone and we're going to reverse course on this thing. So I can't wait to see what happens the rest of the summer with American. Long overdue to make a change. Hopeful that things get righted back over there. If you remember, everybody listen, I flew American religiously for 2018 until 2023 when they had the Atlanta to LaGuardia route. American was part of my weekly life. So I will say I hope they get back to the good days over there. If nothing else, the sake of the huge workforce that they have relying on the airline making money and all the people that are stuck in American hubs, which apparently is not going to be El Paso anymore. So we'll see.
Oh, did they drop El Paso? They were always the king of Texas.
El Paso was a running Vasu joke where we always said the Sun Belt, El Paso, crew base, all this stuff. And it was just like, now everybody's kind of, I will say to Mr. Vasu, like I am sure the last 48, 72 hours have been absolutely no fun for you and your family. I do not relish that you are in the limelight and really just taking the full frontal shots here as the fall guy. Like that's got to be absolutely no fun. By all accounts, everybody who knows him and speaks with him, he's a highly intelligent individual. I'm sure he will come back somewhere in the industry, and I do wish him and his family well, and that this limelight that I'm sure is no fun passes quickly.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I've always heard the same thing. I've never met Vasu, super smart guy, but I mean, at the end of the day, this isn't and can't be just Vasu's fault. Like you gotta look to the C-suite, you gotta look to Isom, the CEO of the airline, and you gotta know that there's a lot of accountability there. And this move is likely one for Isom to try and save his skin. I think the last thing I'd leave here is, ex-airline executive Maya Liebman, who was at AA for, disgustingly long amount of time. In alternate reality, she's still with the airline and potentially in line for the CEO seat when the board shows Isom the door. But that's not going to be in the future for sure. I don't know who we're going to see running American next year, but I'd be willing to bet that it's not Isom in 2025. That's my guess. The strategy's gone too far down to a bad place at this point for them to be able to rescue and turn the ship around in a reasonable time frame.
If you're listening to this, you don't have any kind of context of what 6% drop in American Airlines revenue is. That is a significant number of money. That's
well,
not
and like the thing that baffles me, and to your point, like I read Brett's column too, and he brought up a point that I just continue to remember hearing over the past couple of years. It baffled me is that they essentially fired their business sales team, and you're like, you can't have an airline that big without a business sales team, especially when you think about America. They used to crush it in like Screen Actors Guild and people between the New York and LA routes and stuff like that, and like to say that you just don't have any support for that at all anymore is crazy. Anyway, moving on, because I think we'll be able to continue to watch that train have a slow crash. 2 quick hits, and then I know we both got to get back to our day jobs. We didn't recap Chicago Athletic Association when I was there last week. I know you've stayed there before. This is a historical property in downtown Chicago. It's a Category 5 property, so 18 to 23,000 points per night. I had a really great stay here. They upgraded me to a suite, which was a great room. There's a little bit of road noise from it, so I actually asked to be moved to a different room, and they were super accommodating. Found me a nice quiet room in the back of the property. The history of the building for being the athletic association is felt throughout the rooms. I had a pommel horse at the foot of my bed, which was pretty cool.
Yep.
I ate at Cindy's on the roof. From an architectural standpoint, Cindy's is super awesome because they had to drive 4 pylons down through the building to straighten the building out for structural. And they're like, well, what do we do now? And they built a bar on top of the 4 pylons called Cindy's on the roof. So great meal up there. Awesome view of the city. Very well located. I would definitely return to Chicago Athletic Association. I think sort of like New York, although definitely not as egregious as New York. The categories have started to creep up there with the Thompson and the Park Hyatt and all that stuff. And I know you had a great stay at Park Hyatt. I think for significantly fewer points, I think Chicago Athletic Association should be on people's radar.
It's probably the most unique property in the United States. I would go out on a limb and say there's nothing else like it, and it's well worth the stay. Even the location as well. You just walk across to the Cloud Gate and have a little walk-see on Lake Michigan. Like it's a cool spot. Put it on your list, everybody.
No, I think it's a great physical location for sure. For me, I was at the convention center for a conference at McCormick, and it was easy. I actually walked back from McCormick one of those days.
And shout out to all the Chicago OGs who heard me call it the Cloud Gate and not the Bean. You are welcome for getting that right.
I got your bean, crazy man.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously Chicago is no New York. We've talked about that. I think, there are more affordable alternatives in Chicago. Like there's the Hyatt Centric, which generally has more saver inventory. But I mean, this is going to be right in line. Like most of the Hyatts in downtown Chicago now are Cat 5s. So that's where you're going to be. I didn't tell you about this in pre-show, but I walked through the Fontainebleau last night in Vegas. I spent about a half an hour walking through the property and then had dinner there. I got to say, interesting enough, and you spent some time in Vegas, but you know enough about it. Almost every single resort hotel here has a theme. Vdara is probably the only one that doesn't have a theme, and they don't have a casino. What I found interesting about Fontainebleau is there's really not a theme. It's fine. I just thought it felt a little bit empty, and I have some pictures I'll try and put up on social media. It didn't have any sort of like the glitzy, Wheel of Fortune slot machines or, big bucks, no whammies, that sort of stuff. Slot machines seem to cater towards a quieter crowd and maybe even an Asian clientele. Good looking restaurants and all that, but just not a lot of character to the property. And I was kind of surprised given how much fanfare there was about it.
I would completely agree. So the Expedia had the private event for the conference at the Beach Club on the kind of the outside of Fontainebleau. So we spent some time there before and after the event. By the way, that party was probably the worst corporate event I've ever been to. The venue, while cool, was way too small for how many people they had there. And they had two bars. You're talking like 2,000, 3,000 people packed into this Beach Club spot. I knew something was wrong because as we were going up the escalator from the casino to that Beach Club, there were people, obviously from the Expedia conference as well, already leaving. And it was like 30 minutes. And you're like, okay, if they're leaving, that's, sign number one you always look for. But they had like two bars, each one with two bartenders who were moving at, like, you couldn't get a drink. There was no entertainment. And to your point, man, like even the Beach Club, like, again, kind of a cool setup, but there's just no character there. So the group of folks I was with, we left and went downstairs. Like, let's check out this new resort, man. It was dead. It was empty. Most of the tables closed. Not much going on. To your point, lots of marble and huge granite stuff, but no character. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I do follow a bunch of Vegas people. Vegas intrigues me while I don't go there often. It's just something that I think points and miles people keep up with. A lot of different stats flying around Twitter about how much money they're losing. I did see actually on their Twitter yesterday that they just joined Amex FHR, so you can make those bookings and get breakfast and all the FHR benefits there now, which I'm sure they're doing to try and drive some sales. It's kind of up there on the strip as well, not really close to anything. If you want to kind of casino or property hop, it's not all that convenient. So I don't think it's particularly affordable either right now. So
this is the thing that blows my mind. So it's further down past Resorts World. So in between Resorts World and Sahara, across from Circus. So to your point, it's not where people quote unquote want to be. That's become less of a thing in Vegas, but I mean, Resort World still has trouble filling rooms. I'm staying here right now. No kidding. My rate is $100 a night for the Conrad, which is the middle of the three properties here. And the Conrad rooms are beautiful at Resort World. The corresponding rate at Fontainebleau for an entry-level room for these same dates was $350 a night.
Like who's paying
Vegas
that?
Isn't. Well, and the funny thing is that our buddy Michael Traeger was in town, Travel Zork and Zorkfest, and he was staying at the Wynn same time, and he just left last night. His rate at the Wynn was under $200 a night. So Fontainebleau is charging rates that are almost twice the price of the Wynn. It's just not going to work for you. That model is just not going to work.
It'll be interesting to see what happens after a 20-year construction process to get that place open, and then all the fanfare and all the celebrities that were there. Now it's by all accounts not doing very well. And I certainly, after visiting the one night, was good to never have a reason to go back there unless somebody was having an event. So best wishes to those folks.
I had a really good meal at Mother Wolf, which is their Italian restaurant. I'll provide more details on that online, see pictures of food and stuff like that. Food was excellent, but not a reason to spend that much on its own room. And to your point, this property started construction before the big meltdown in 2007, 2008 when we had the housing crisis. So, I mean, it's been almost 20 years that this thing has been a concept in Vegas. Anyway, last thing on the way out, for folks that want to support the show, our version of Patreon is our Slack community. I did have a quick listener question that I wanted to tout there from Tracy as part of our Slack community. I have a couple other listener questions. One of them is for you, Mr. Kerr, because I didn't give it to you ahead of time. I'm going to let you have a little time to think about it, and we'll do it next week. But Tracy asked something that's for me, pretty straightforward, but I think it's a good reminder for folks. She asked if you're booking AAA rates at hotels, if you can still earn points on your stays. And I think, I think AAA is consistently overlooked. It used to be a much bigger value than it is, but I still think there's value there. And I think, if Tracy's asking this, I consider to be a pretty astute traveler, then it's probably worth us asking and answering this question on the show. Do AAA rates earn you miles and points when you book them at, say, your favorite hotel chain, Marriott?
If you book it on Marriott.com, yes, it does. Now, AAA probably has some kind of travel portal on their website. That probably will not. But yes, if you book directly on Marriott.com and you click that little AAA box or you put the rate in, then yes, you will earn your elite nights and points.
Yep. And I would say a AAA membership can be as cheap as, don't quote me on this, but I feel like our AAA membership for our family is $40 or $50 because I have the towing package because my wife her car doesn't have a spare tire because it comes with run flats, which looks like they're horrible. But I think a base AAA membership is something like $20 and you can easily save that over the course of the year. Right, for a year.
Yeah.
And it used to be you could find bigger discounts, but I would say like typically 6 or 7 times a year, I'm finding a $15 or $20 a night discount on a hotel rate. So I save hundreds of dollars a year on my AAA rates, over the course of a year. So definitely worth checking. Most of the hotel chains make it super easy. There's a box in sort of like your advanced search features where you can click for AAA rates, and they'll list it right alongside the standard rate and the membership rate. So if you want to support the show, that's a great way to do it. Costs you a few bucks a month to come join us in the Slack community. We have happy hours. Just finished our meetup at Topgolf. Sorry that you missed that. We had some great plane spotting while we were hitting some golf balls and drinking some beers. Shout out to all the folks who came and enjoyed that. If you don't want to give us money, which I can't figure out why, you can support us by leaving a positive YouTube review. Give us a thumbs up on the show. Or if you're listening on any podcast platforms, leave us a 5-star review or rating, and that will get her done, as Mr. Kerr likes to say.
Why would somebody not want to give us money, especially when you are so great at remembering everybody's name and not walking around Topgolf calling everybody by the wrong name? Why would you not want to give us money? Give us money.
I think the over-under was set at like 50% of the people that I called the wrong name at some point. And the funny thing is that the people that were there are all people that are very active in the Slack community. So they're all people that I should know the names of, and I do know the names of, and just completely dorked it all and got.
I am so bad at names that I just don't even try anymore because I don't want to get it wrong. And I will be 99.9% sure that is that person I have talked to for 5 years. I know their name. I will not say their name. I don't want to get it wrong.
Well, I'll close with this shout out. So Amanda, who's been a part of the Slack community for a while, apparently I called her Amber most of the show, who's another great Slack community member. So I did add Amanda to my contacts, and she's in my contacts as not Amber. So
there you go,
Amanda, to you. I hope you enjoy the camping trip. Just to be clear, there's no way you're clearing an upgrade from Newark to Orlando. So just get used to whatever seat you've got in the back of the plane. And if it happens, if you do get the upgrade, make sure you play Powerball when you land.
Yep, there you go.
All right, where are you guys going camping?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt State Park here in Georgia. One of my favorite places in the world. I've been going camping there since I was a wee little lad in a tent, and now I bring my kids there. It's really an awesome place. The president came and hung out there as a summer home in Warm Springs, Georgia. A little bit of Americana. I love it, man. It's great.
You boondocking, or do they actually have hookups?
They have power and water, but no sewer. But the coolest thing is the Liberty Bell pool, built by the Conservation Corps in the 1930s. It is still here. It is still spring-fed. It is still lined with granite on the bottom and the sides. It's huge in the shape of the Liberty Bell. You can look it up on the Georgia State Parks website, and it is ice cold. So when it is really, really hot, which it is, you jump in the pool and cool off, man. It's a cool spot. Everybody should check it out.
I'm an 85-degree pool kind of guy, man. I don't need no cold water.
Not when it's like 110 with the humidity outside.
85 still feels great. 85 still feels great when it's 110. Trust me. All right, well, enjoy the camping. Enjoy New York and those disgustingly high hotel rates you and I were talking about. Great, $650 for the Grayson. Oh my God!
It's outrageous.
And most importantly of all, enjoy Orlando in June. Just one of the most special places to be to melt in the summertime. So
better than July and August.
Yes. Yep. Well, enjoy all of that. I am headed home in the morning to spend some time at home and relaxation as we lead up to getting prepared for a graduation party. There will be no camping for me, Mr. Kerr. So we upload again. We got miles to go. Let's get it on.